How did Murphy come into your life?
So my husband Rohan, he always wanted a pet, but I was against the idea. It's a responsibility, right? Getting a pet home is like getting a baby home.
Were you an avid traveler before, and has it changed somehow with Murphy?
We now travel slow, We don't have a specific set of destinations in our mind. There's no checklist of itinerary to, complete. If you want to feed your pet before you are planning to leave for a road trip, I would suggest feeding them 3 to 4 hours prior to your trip.
This should be declared as the most pet-friendly city in India.
Bangalore, without a doubt. We call him Machli because he's half
He's a water
of
baby.
which he's a water baby.
I can keep looking at his face. A ridiculous myth about traveling with pets.
The most common is it's not fun. It's a lot of fun. You're going to have a ballistic experience. It's going to be a ball of an experience.
Welcome to the 7th episode of Mountain Days. I'm your host Mauna Nanaya, and today's episode is definitely going to make you smile wide throughout. I want to start by showing everyone this reel which won the internet, and honestly I could still watch it 1,000 times.
नहीं जा रहे अभी कहीं नहीं जाना है
जिंदगी से यही मेरी डील
क्या हुआ मच्छी
अब ना रुकना
अभी नहीं जा सकते अरे
सपने सारे हकीकत हो फीलिंगों की बस यही फील है कि तारे भी शर्माए टिमटिमाती आंखें मेरी देखते घूम 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 मैं घुमक्कड़ सारी दुनिया के लगाऊं मैं चक्कर घूम 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 मैं घुमक्कड़ सारी दुनिया के लगाऊं मैं चक्कर
Hi Vindhya, welcome to the podcast. It's really nice to have you here.
Thank you so much, Mana. But I'm not the guest.
Yes, you're not the guest.
Okay, Mafu, come.
Who is this guest of honor?
He's Murphy. We call him Mafu. Urf Chiklu. So he's got multiple nicknames. But yeah, people know him with the name Murfu.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to hike and trek as pet parents and answer some common concerns around the topic. So Vindhya, tell me, how did Murphy come into your life?
To start with, I never thought I'd be a pet parent at first. So my husband Rohan, he always wanted a pet, but I was against the idea because it's a responsibility, right? Getting a pet home is like getting a baby home, and it's a commitment of 12 to 15 years.
Yeah.
So I always, ditched that topic. And what happened is one time during COVID, he initiated the conversation again. And this time I happened to say yes. I don't know how. And then I think within 2 days, Murphy was home.
Okay.
I didn't have time to react then. I was like, okay, let's just continue with this. But that's how he came home. This was during COVID. Exactly 2 days after Christmas. He came home on 27th December 2020. Yeah, and then since then he's just changed our lives forever.
So how has it been, traveling with Murphy? Has it been a drastic change from your previous lifestyle versus, because there's one thing to have a pet at home and be a pet parent at home, domesticated environment, but it's a totally another ball game to take your pet out and have the similar experiences that you were probably having or probably have in mind. So has that changed? Were you an avid traveler before, and has it changed somehow with Murphy?
Yeah, to answer your question, yes. Both me and my husband, we were avid travelers. We really loved exploring anyway. I mean, if we get a weekend, we would, go for a hike somewhere close by or, just visit a resort nearby. We would not stay at home. We didn't like the idea of staying at home. And ever since Murphy came into our lives, we thought, there was a thought that, it's probably going to affect our travel life as well. But I think exactly 5 days after he came home, we booked our first car because we knew that, you know, we cannot just leave this guy alone
Right.
at home. We didn't want him to stay at home, and we really wanted him to explore the world with us. So we were like, okay, let's book this car. Let's get rolling with him. So I think it was during the time of COVID, and right after that, we started. I think in 6 months we got a car, and then we started training him to travel in the car, starting with short distances, and then eventually doing a trip to Manali from Mumbai.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, it has changed in the fact that a 2-hour flight journey has now changed to a 25 to 30-hour road trip.
Road trip.
Yeah, so it's more, I mean, it gets challenging at times because both of us, we are working professionals,
Right.
and we don't have the luxury of time, right? We only have
Yeah.
limited weekends and some holidays in between, and that's when you have to manage all this travel. And when you spend a lot of time traveling on the road, you seldom get, you know, time to explore the place. But it has been a different ballgame altogether. Like you said, we now travel slow. You know, we don't have a specific set of destinations in our mind. There's no checklist of itinerary to, you know, complete. So all we need is just a beautiful landscape where he gets to play and run around freely, and we could enjoy a sunset. So our experience has been totally different from what we were initially, the kind of travelers we were initially, and now the kind of travelers we are now.
So you now have a additional filter on websites that
Exactly.
says pet friendly.
That's there. You know, initially we could just go on any impromptu trips, you know, because we were like, okay,
Right.
we can stay anywhere we want. You don't have any restrictions. But with Murphy, with us, we have to obviously plan things ahead of time, because you have to look for pet friendly accommodations, pet friendly hotels, or, you know, all of those things. It has changed drastically. We've become more responsible now. We started planning things now. So yeah, that way our lives has changed.
So how old was Murphy when you started traveling for the first time?
I think we took him on his first trip when he was 3 months old. We didn't have a car back then, so we rented a car, and that was his first trip. So we went from Mumbai to Lonavala. That's like a 3-hour drive, and he did puke a lot because it was his first
First,
experience. So, but we were glad it was a rental car and not our own
Not your
car.
own.
So by the time we got our own car, he was a pro. So so we are happy about
गलती
that.
करनी है दूसरों की चीजों पे कर लो.
Yeah. So that way, he started his travel journey in a rented car, and then by the time we got our car, he was, I think, 6 months old, and that's when we started traveling frequently.
So what are some of your core memories with him? Is there like one memory that you think of when anyone asks you about traveling with Murphy? Like this one thing that comes to your mind?
To be honest, there are a lot of memories. You know, every time he visits a new place or sees something unusual, he has this excitement and spark in his eyes that, you know, you just go crazy because you see that happiness
Right.
on his face, and
Right.
you know this is what you're here for. But if you ask me one core memory, it definitely has to be the first time he saw snow in Manali. While we were crossing through the Atal tunnel, I clearly remember the snow pellets falling on his nose, and he was so mesmerized by it. And that is a view that is, you know, stuck or, you know, etched in my memory forever.
It's also, I think, where we as human beings are probably, we have a lot of filters as to how we should react when we
Yeah.
see something is a food, something really that we would look at and go, oh my god, wow, this is amazing. But a dog is just so unfiltered.
Exactly.
So the fact that every time he sees something new,
Exactly.
you experience it via him.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, this is something I can be as excited as Murphy about.
Yeah, I mean, every time he sees something new, like for the first time when we wanted him to go swimming, okay, so we had, it was his first trip after we got our car. That was around when he was 6 months old. So there was a lake nearby the place that we had been to, and we wanted him to go and take a dip in the lake. And he was so scared of it initially that we had to literally push him, you know, go. And now when you look at him, anywhere he sees water, he would just go jump in it. Even if it's a puddle, you know, he would want to just go and jump in there. So now when I think of, how we started and how we've evolved over time, it's amazing.
He's made you brave.
Yeah.
Braver.
Yeah, I remember this one day when we were in a trip to Kurg. We had to bathe him twice because both the times he just went and he just jumped into the dirtiest puddle he got. So yeah, I remember spending our entire day bathing and drying him up, and he'd go again.
So are there like specific preparations that you have to do? Of course there are specific preparations, but what are they? From going from couple travelers to people who were just exploring on your own to now having a baby, a pet especially, who cannot communicate with you, how do you know what are these things you need? What are your preparation lists? Let's say for a short trip of a day or two.
So one thing is, first you check out the place. You have to obviously find places that are pet friendly. That is with respect to the place. And if you want your pet to enjoy, you would obviously want a bigger space where he could run around freely, or there is some activity for him to do. So that is our first preference. And I'm sure it's a preference of many other pet parents as well. But when it comes to listing down a list of things that you want to do, so it starts from the car journey. So I would say a seat belt is important because dogs tend to get very hyper and excited, and they try to come in the front seat and distract you and all that. So yeah, getting a seat belt is important. And then it's important for him to be seated comfortably at the back seat as well. So we kind of have a seat cover and then a bed on top of it so that he can sit and rest peacefully, and the drive is good for him. Right. He's comfortable in the drive. That's about the car thing. And then it's very important to take frequent breaks while traveling, because they need frequent pee and poo breaks,
Right.
Not poo, but pee definitely.
Yeah. Water breaks.
Yeah, and water breaks. And it's one thing that I missed to mention is you should not feed immediately before you take your pet for a road trip.
Okay.
They tend to get this motion sickness thing, and they might end up puking everything out. So even if you want to feed your pet before you are planning to leave for a road trip, I would suggest feeding them 3 to 4 hours prior to your trip.
Okay.
Yeah. So and this guy, he would not eat anything during the travel. Even if it's like an 8 to 9 hours journey, he would not eat anything. So we would just feed him 3 to 4 hours prior to when our journey starts, and then feed him directly when we reach the destination.
So what are the specific things that you pack for him? Luggage situation or gears or something that he needs, or a toy that you have to pack?
See, to be frank, we pack a lot of things, but I would list down the essentials that we carry. First thing first is a harness and a leash. I don't prefer a collar because that's kind of bad or for their neck. So we prefer harness over leashes. So even if you're going for a trek or anywhere for traveling,
The body
so that the harness and a leash is a must. Apart from that, I would say a name tag with your the pet parent's number on it,
right.
so that in case if they get lost or they go missing, I hope that never happens. I know. In that case. And apart from that, if he's going on a trek or somewhere, I would definitely recommend dog shoes, because whatever treks we've been to, we've always seen the small bottle pieces being spread across here and there, so you obviously don't want their paws to be hurt by stepping on it. So I would definitely recommend.
And he's comfortable with the.
Yeah. You have to get them used to it. At first, it's kind of funny the way they walk while they wear it, but they get used to it.
I'd love to see that video if you have of him initially.
They walk literally like this. But it's kind of important. And if you're, let's say, traveling in a rainy season or trekking in a rainy season, a raincoat is good to have. I would not say must, but I would say if you want to save up on the time you want to spend on drying him up, so definitely keep a raincoat along. I think these are the most basic essentials for the pet, but you also have to keep a travel water bottle with you, which it's like a bottle cum bowl. You just press the bottle and then you have water on top of it, and they could just love it.
Would be nice enough.
So it's important to keep them hydrated. So yeah, that's one of the basic things we carry.
So you mentioned that there are these glass pieces that you've generally seen. I'm assuming that's one of the pain points that you have to
Yes.
deal with.
Yes.
Are there anything else that you have to deal with, or something that you foresee that might be something that might come up, especially when hiking and trekking? Because traveling, I think, is still something you can
Yeah.
control, but
Yes.
in the outdoor environments, on the mountains and the hills, it's sort of a little more environmental. So
Yes.
are there any things that you faced like that, any problems or pain points?
I would say when it comes to trekking, it's not easy to go on a trek with pets, considering the fact that you have to be mindful about the wildlife there, you know.
Right.
So you may not necessarily get all permits to take your pets along. So we've tried to talk to a couple of forest officers, and they said no, we don't allow pets,
Okay.
because it's not safe for them. So for one thing that you can probably check before taking your dog for a hike or anywhere is to check if they are actually allowed there, if it's safe there, and if you're going to a remote place, you can probably connect with the localites there to check if there have been any wildlife sightings around.
Encounters.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is very important. So obviously your pet's safety is more important than anything else. But when it comes to these external factors, I think it's just I think it's the weather condition which can just go wrong. And when it comes to pets like him, who have this thick fur, I think they would not prefer hiking in a warm condition,
environment,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, so just that, because even the floor is pretty hot then. So having a shoe would definitely help them.
Are there any specific websites or community or places that you refer to find information about a trail or a hike or some place? Like, for example, if you're booking a hotel, you know exactly whom to call.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to probably hike a mountain, or like you've mentioned so many other places you've been
Yeah.
to, is there a go-to place, or is this a lot more of research?
It's a lot more of research. I couldn't find one specific place which says, hey, pets are allowed here or pets are not allowed here. So I've always had to
That's not
talk
there.
to guides who take, these tour guides who take people on treks and everywhere. We had to connect with them, check with them that, hey, we have a pet. We can come to the starting point directly on our own. We don't have to be in your bus. But there have been instances where they said, no, pets are not allowed. We are not comfortable taking a pet along. So yeah, that has been a scenario. I mean, because I think in India, it's not a culture, I would say, to
Right.
take pets along with you
Right.
on treks. But even I think in the north, people would just take their pets along
Yeah.
on treks. But here, I think around the cities, I don't think there's anyone who
Little
takes.
more, yeah, it
their-
needs getting used
Yeah,
to, like,
yeah.
little bit more rules, and also, like you said, I think anybody in the podcast viewers, if any of you are looking for a startup idea, here's one. We need a list of places where we can check if allowed, not allowed, what are the rules, like that
Yeah.
would be really helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Any tips that you would want to give for to be pet parents, or even pet parents who are wishing to hike or travel with pets? Any situation, what is the first thing you do that you encounter something you've not prepped for it, it's unforeseen? What do you do first thing, and any suggestion to what somebody can do?
I think majority of the times when things go wrong is when your pet is not in a close proximity to you. So the most important thing is to get your pet on leash. Sometimes what happens is a lot of us pet parents are so excited about our pet exploring the places around that they may tend to leave the pet off leash. Now what happens is in areas like forest, you see a lot of monkeys and everyone around, and it's their natural instinct to run behind these animals, and once they just take off, they might not even realize that they have gone far enough. Yeah, so it's always important to, even if your recall is good, it's important to keep your pet in close proximity to you so that you have a control over the situation, no matter how bad it is, And when it comes to trekking, I would always suggest to accompany with a group of people and not just go alone somewhere, because no matter how good you are, good of a trekker you are, or how well you know the surroundings, it's always good to have someone there, so that you don't have to encounter situations
alone,
which are
right.
bad.
So have you traveled with other pet parents?
I have not trekked with other pet parents, but what we did was we went with a group of trekkers, you know. So yeah, what we did was we just connected with them. We told them, hey, we are not going to come along with you in the bus. We'll reach the starting point directly and just trek with your group. Our pet is not going to be of any nuisance to you guys, or
You wanted a group who would take you
yeah,
on
just
the trail. And
yes. Just because of the safety reasons, you know, because you are traveling with an animal, right? And you don't know when you could encounter a wildlife there. So yeah, it's always important to kind of have at least some group of people around.
Right. Is there any group that you have formed, or that you, initial days when you wanted to understand how to travel with a pet, what are the things? So other than probably YouTube and other than research, were there any groups or any community channels or any, probably Facebook groups and anywhere that you've encountered? Was that something that you did?
No, actually, we just started exploring on our own, and we are actually introverts, so we don't even like to travel in groups. So we like to have our own, private time. But yeah, while we were in Mumbai and while we didn't have our own car, we were looking for a group which can take pet parents along with their pets. Back then, I think it was not there yet, but now they do have a group. I don't remember the name exactly, but there is a group that takes pets and pet parents on a trip.
So for you, how has it been traveling with Murphy? I'm sorry, I'm going to be distracted when I'm going to ask you the question, but have you seen any difference in your bonding with you as a couple and with him? Domesticated pet parent versus traveling pet parent. Has the bond changed? Has it become stronger?
It's as good as having a baby, right? So it's like traveling with a 2-year-old. So that way,
constantly traveling with a 2-year-old. Increase.
So he's going to be a 2-year-old forever. But yeah, it's like that. Obviously, our bond has gotten better because I now know that he's more responsible. I can rely on him for anything. I mean, when you're taking care of a pet, it's like you have this shared responsibility of feeding him, taking him out for a walk, and there are a lot of things, other things involved as well, like making him wear the shoes, wear the raincoat. It's a task, feeding him and all of that. But yeah, I mean, it's more than that. It's that sense of responsibility that the both of us share together, and it's like having a family, right? Initially, it was just the two of us, just roaming around places, ticking off places from our checklist. But now it's more like we get to spend the time together as a family, play with him. Yeah, that's that's actually beautiful. We've never thought of travel as there's a term called slow traveling. Right. So I think our Murphy actually made us realize that you can sit back, relax, and just chill and not do anything. You don't have to go to places to have fun or to enjoy. It's more like you're in touch with nature now. Right. So yeah, way. If
you go to any place, we usually have a list of temples and places.
Yes.
And I don't know, if you go to Agra, you would want to go to Taj Mahal. But if Murphy's not allowed now and you can't go, then it's something that you're okay with now. Say it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a checklist right now. Like I said, we just need a place which is a good enough landscape. There has to be a lake, or there has to be some water body where he can go and take a swim, an open space for him to just play around, and just a good landscape. I think that's it, and we are happy with that. We actually take all our cooking essentials as well together. So we have this stove and a table and chair, a set of chair, which we just find a place which is scenic enough. We just sit there, make chai, and just sip on that chai while enjoying the sunset. I think that is travel for us now. Just finding these good enough places to chill and relax with.
You mentioned that you just look for these ponds and places where he can just go for a swim and all that.
Yeah.
I've also seen a lot of comments on such posts where the pet parents are also paranoid in general about freshwater bodies and things that the pet might pick up. up. So,
Yeah.
what are some of these precautions that you take, safety measures, especially when you let him be him
Yeah.
in the wild, and when you're out probably hiking or trekking? In general, are there any specific things you keep in mind that you have to check this first?
Yeah. I mean, the first things that we check wherever we go is check with the locals if the water is safe enough. If if people can go in and take a bath or swim, and we only let him in such water bodies where people actually go and take a swim, and because you don't know what kind of water snakes or anything you might encounter there. So yeah, this is the first thing that we check before we let him in. But apart from that, I think he's a born swimmer, so we're not scared about him drowning or anything. But we do have this life jacket for him, which we got from the US, so we kind of make sure that at least he's wearing that. Yeah.
So, are there any specific etiquettes or practices that you have taught him and yourself as pet parent that you follow to ensure that it's not intrusive to others, and as well at the same time others don't intrude on your time and space?
Of course. So I think this is very important. What some of us pet parents don't realize is not everyone loves dogs. There are people who are genuinely scared of dogs as well.
Yeah.
So you have to be mindful of what others feel towards your dog as well. So you can't be like, hey, it's my dog, it's my baby, you have to love him. You can't expect that from people. But so one of the basic things that we do is ensure that he's just around us. He's not jumping or greeting anyone who is obviously not wanting to pet him. So I think we started training him since he was a puppy that the jumping is not something which is allowed, and he's not allowed to sleep on the bed as well. So he has a dedicated space where he can sleep. So this comes in handy when we go to a hotel or somewhere where everything is white. I mean, the linen is white, right? So and you can't keep cleaning the bed every time after, and hotels have this policy where they say no pets on bed. Okay. So I mean, these are some of the things that we trained him so that we don't have to face all of those problems. And also something that we already trained him is to not bark unnecessarily. That causes nuisance for a lot of people. I mean, even if there is one baby who's constantly crying in a flight, you would not like it, right? So I think it's the same with pets as well. If there's a dog who's constantly barking, it could be nuisance for others as well. So we are mindful of all of these things that whenever we are traveling with him, he should not be a nuisance to anyone. And we kind of stay a little away from the crowd so that people don't give us this look like because you don't want to see that.
Both ways.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Don't want that.
I mean, I understand that you don't like pets. I'll keep my pet away from you. So yeah, I think because I don't want to see that reaction on people's faces, I kind of keep a distance. And only when people would want to come and pet him, that are the only times when we let people pet him.
Yeah, I did notice that when he entered, he didn't jump on anyone. He was just smiling.
Yeah. He's very excited at first.
He didn't bark.
No, so I mean, he does not bark unnecessarily. I mean, wherever we've traveled, he got compliments for people didn't realize we had a pet along with us. So that was kind of good for us because we thought, that is something which we want because we don't want to cause any problem to others. He should just blend with us naturally. So yeah, those are some of the basic things. And one important thing is clean up every time after your pet. That's very important. A lot of pet parents don't do that, which is why there are restrictions.
Rules and restrictions start coming up.
Yeah, these are basic. These are pretty basic things, that you have to clean up after your pet. And you have to ensure that your pet is not destructive, right? If you go to any space, if he destroys the curtains or the sofa or anything, obviously people would not like having a pet around. This is also one of the reasons why majority of the hotels, they don't allow pets, because they've had instances where pets go all ballistic and, they tear things apart. So these are some of the basic training things that we've taught him. And we also travel to good resorts where they don't allow pets in the restaurant. That is also a thing right now.
Right.
But training your pet on separation anxiety is also something which is important. So let's say if you are in a resort where the restaurants won't allow the pet to come inside, but you have to go and have your lunch and dinner, right? So that, I mean, it's possible that you can call it at your room for home service. But again, so what we do is we always kept him in the room. We told him, hey, we are going to come back, you're going to sit here and chill. And we always do that, and he's calm. He would not bark, or he does not have that separation anxiety thing. So what happens here is we are not restricting ourselves as well, and he's able to gel up and enjoy with us. So we don't feel like, hey, we have a dog with us, so you have to let us in. No, we know that these are the rules, and we abide by the rules. We have no issues with them. So yeah, these are some of the basic things.
These things that you've taught him, is it self-taught, or are there any recommended training institutes or places where they do actually teach your pup?
There are a lot of training institutes as well, but we actually just refer to YouTube. I think YouTube is the academy for everyone who don't know how to start. But we just started there, and I think since we started early enough, he got used to it. So I think if you want to train your dog, you start as a puppy. So be it to train in a car, or to or with respect to separation anxiety and things like that, I think it's important to start early. That's how they learn. So now I think he's a pro traveler now. We have no issues around him. The only thing is he's not allowed in flights, and that's the only pain point that we think right now there is, because it's difficult to not take him anywhere when the distance is too far and you don't have quite some time to travel. Then
you mentioned everything, you don't know to do things, you just go to YouTube, right? I have 3 cats at home, and I cannot get them to come to me if I don't have food in my hand. Or there are very specific foods, like if I say mammu in my Kodava language, that means wet food. So very specifically I say that, and he comes. So now I've started learning to purr, and I've started learning to make these cat sounds, and all from reels and YouTube.
Yeah.
So sometimes when I say that, they look at me like, what is wrong with this woman? Like, what is she saying? And I don't even know if they're actually hearing what the real guy is telling them they would hear. But they do respond.
Yes.
So I totally understand. You don't know something, just Google it and try it and find out.
Yeah, definitely.
So has anything to do with budgeting here, or your financial expenses, that has affected from being travelers, which is 2 of you, versus having a pet now? Has it overshot? Is it the same? How do you manage the finances of it?
See, honestly, even if you have a pet, I mean, you can choose to splurge, or you can do a budget thing as well. So we've done both. So when you talk about choosing budget-friendly accommodations, sometimes what we do is we carry our own food for him. So that way you save up on the cost for food. Or we just buy some eggs and just boil it up for him, or you just go to a local chicken store and procure chicken and just ask the cook to cook it for him. So that has been pretty cheap, But if you go to a luxury resort and if you ask for food, they're obviously going to charge you a bomb for dog food as well, even though it's just boiled chicken and veggies. Right. So it completely depends on you. You don't have to. I mean, when we had money, we would splurge it. When we don't, we would keep it in a way that we are not spending a lot. So, and when it comes to food, there are also a lot of options available now. There are a lot of businesses that have come up, which kind of has this something called as retort. So there's a technology called as retort packaging. Okay. So it's like it keeps the food fresh for like 3 months or so. Okay. So that kind of packaging is there. So you can even buy those foods and you can take it for your travel. So these are some of the and they are not very expensive. And we have also given him curd and rice, so you can just continue with whatever amount you have. So it's not necessary that if you have a pet, your budget is going to overshoot or anything of that sort. It's as good as just feeding one more person. You know,
So you're saying it's not much. It's
It's
probably
not much.
just to do with food and probably a little bit of money you're paying more if
Yeah.
you choose a stay where if it's not
Yes.
an Airbnb and
Yes.
if they
Yes.
are allowing pets, then resorts and stuff
Yeah.
will charge you a little more.
Exactly.
So that's your additional cost.
Yes. So if you choose budget friendly destinations or locations or Airbnbs, they don't charge you additional for pet. But the high fundu luxury resorts, they would charge you anything around 2,000 to 3,500 per day for your pet.
Right.
Even though there's not going to be anything
Anything
additional,
for the pet.
it's just for the pet to be
there.
to be there. But that's what you have to pay for luxury. But that's what I said. You can choose to splurge, or you can just choose any budget friendly accommodation where you don't have to spend even a penny for your pet, you know. So if you want it to be a budget friendly trip, you can definitely choose one of these Airbnbs who don't charge anything extra.
He wants the ball.
You want the ball?
So what do I do to become his friend? Probably take the ball.
Yeah. So he loves balls. So anything who would give him a ball is his friend. So you can probably try.
Oh. Oh, this is like a chocolate. High five. Oh my god, and how do I need both your hands. Okay, now what do you want from me? I'll give it. I can't not give it, I'm gonna give it. Oh.
Mafu, come back.
He's gone. So what are some of the things that I shouldn't do? Let's say anybody when you're hiking or
Yeah.
trekking and then they come across. One thing definitely I do know is you do not touch anybody's pet without the parents' permission.
Exactly.
Because I personally with my cats also do not like that.
Yes.
You should ask.
Yes.
Other than that, what else are some of the things that probably would be harmful for a pet that we as human beings generally don't know and we end up doing?
Yeah, I mean, what you said is pretty basic, which many of the people don't follow. They would just see a golden retriever and assume that since he's a golden retriever, he's friendly. But that's not always the case.
Right.
I mean, Murphy is friendly, so he would not react or do anything. He would simply play with you. But that's not the case with all the dogs. You know, some dogs may just take their own time. They need their personal space. You can't just intrude their space just like that, right? So first thing is you check with the pet parent if the dog is friendly or not. And if yes, can you pet him? Is there a specific area where he likes to be petted?
Yeah.
Like you can't just directly pet him at the top because they are then not able to see your hands, right? So wherever your hands should be visible to them so that they know where you are approaching.
Right.
So if you are approaching somewhere where it's not visible,
Right.
they might freak out.
Right.
So try to avoid that. That is one of the basic things, and it's very important to know how to approach the dog. And every dog is different. You cannot classify a dog by its breed. You cannot assume that all the golden retrievers are friendly or all the German shepherds are ferocious or anything
I
of
had
that
the
sort.
most friendliest German Shepherd.
Exactly. So you can't just classify them into boxes saying, hey, this breed is that. You can't assume one breed to be of a particular temperament. So you always have to check with the pet parent first because they obviously know their babies better. And do not intrude their space. They take time to build that trust. So there are some people who would just come to Murphy and then be like, but because he's friendly, he would probably not mind it. But if it's some other dog who does not like his personal space being intruded, he would snap.
And then you become liable for
Exactly,
something that
exactly.
you didn't permit for also.
Exactly. So that is something which is very basic. And we also see a lot of these cases which come up in news, right? The dog bit someone in a lift and things like that. So you have to understand it from a perspective of the dog, right? You have to, if you are scared of dog or if you are giving the dog some vibes which he feels is not right, that's the time when he would snap out. A dog would not attack you just out of nowhere. So you have to consider the temperament of the dog and then approach the dog. So just don't assume that dog to be very friendly and just go and cuddle him. No, Murphy does not like cuddling a lot. So even if he's very friendly, if I go and hug him, he'll be like, chhod do mujhe. So yeah, every dog is different. You can't have a set of rules for that this dog is like this or this dog is like that. So it totally differs from dogs to dogs, and you have to check with the pet parents.
Yeah, of course. That's like the first rule of thumb.
Yeah,
Check with the pet
definitely.
parent. And you'll get all your information from the pet parent. So please
Exactly.
check before you go.
I mean, you just have to initiate the conversation. They'll go on and on about this.
Watch my dog videos, my dog's photo, my dog's. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the your favorite or the recommended ones, hikes and trails that you have done? Can you give me a couple of names, 4-5 names that you've done, and which allows pets and safe to take pets?
Yes. So I think there was one in Chikmagalur, the highest peak of Karnataka, Mullayanagiri trek. We did that with Murphy, and he was just lost in the view. I mean, I still have a video which shows him sitting and just looking at the view like that, and we were shocked. We were like, he is actually enjoying the view.
Is he
I mean, you don't expect that from a dog, but then he is just sitting there peacefully, soaking in all of that beauty around, you know. So that is one of our most favorite treks. But we've done some treks in and around Bangalore as well, which includes Timpana Betta, which is
Ramnagar, right?
yeah, Ramnagar, which is a fairly simple one. So you have to start off slow. You can't just take your dog on a trek directly into the highest peak. Yeah. And then we had been to Makalidurga, yes. So that is also pet friendly, and it's very easy to summit as well. So it's not a difficult sort of a trek. And we also trekked to the top of Gudi Bande Fort. Even that is pet friendly. It's nice. Murphy enjoyed.
It has a lot more steps, right?
Yeah, it has
And
a lot of
boulders.
steps.
That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
comfortable with the boulders and
Yes,
rocks.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And again, the same thing happened. He went and sat on the top of it, and he was just soaking in the view. And I was like, wow, this guy is actually enjoying life. So that was one of the treks we did. And then there was this waterfall we had hiked to. It was a small trail. It's
Ketanhalli.
it's the Ketanhalli Falls. I forgot the name. Sorry about that.
I remembered.
Yeah, I mean, these are some of the treks which are fairly simple and easy. And I forgot to mention, in Chikmagalur we also did a trek to Hebbe Falls. It was beautiful. So we went with the group again there. So that was nice as well. And near Bangalore we did one more trek to Uttari Betta.
Okay. So
which
these
was
are all known pet friendly
places.
safe places that people
safe
can
places
visit.
that you can take your pet.
So-
We spoke to the trekker groups about Skandagiri and all of those as well, but those are the treks where pets are not allowed.
Okay.
So we did try to find out if there are any more places where they allow pets, but there are hardly any. I mean, there are obviously just few of these places
safe
where
ones.
it's safe for pets, you know.
How does a day outing, like if tomorrow morning you go out, venture out somewhere nearby Bangalore, how does your day look like with him?
Yeah, I mean, we have done a lot of that. So
Do you camp? Do you go camping? Do you do overnight camping with him?
So we've done a lot of just one-day trips, but we've never done an overnight camping sort of a setup with him. But yeah, there are places in Bangalore which offer that as well. But we just chose to stay in a container instead of a camp. So yeah, that differs. I mean, they do have choices of camping or setting up your own tent, or you know, or just staying in a container sort of a facility if they have. So we chose a container instead of a camp there because for us comfort mattered more. But yeah, we've done a lot of one-day treks as well. I mean, just
Picnic
the
sort of
picnic
stuff.
sort of stuff where we would just pack some essentials, his food, possibly eggs for him to snack on, his treats, and then we would take, like I mentioned, we have a stove, a table, and a set of chairs that we got from Decathlon, which is like our camping gear. We take that everywhere with us, and then we have this tent which you can place for your emergency pee-poo, whatever setup, or if you want to change. So we have these 3-4 basic setups that we do, and we just go find a place anywhere and just camp there, make chai, boil eggs for him, just sit, let him
Let him
play.
do,
Yeah, that's like a normal day trip for us, and he enjoys it.
Like, okay, so perfect.
Yes.
One vehicle parked. You have to.
Exactly.
You have a table. You have two chairs,
Yes.
and I'm assuming all of them from Decathlon.
Everything from
Hammer?
Decathlon. Everything from
Murphy.
Decathlon. And Murphy, yes. So that is like our basic setup, and he obviously enjoys playing fetch. So that's his favorite game. Being a golden retriever, it's the most basic thing. He retrieves anything. But yeah, he would love it if that place has a lake or any water body nearby where he can just go and take a dip. We call him Machli because he's half
He's a water
fish.
baby.
He's a water baby.
I can keep looking at his face, but right now we're going to get into the next segment. It's called Speed segment, where I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions and you can answer as quickly as possible. Are you going to be helping too? Okay, he is going to be helping. Right. What does mountain days mean to you?
Mountain days mean adventure to us, break from the routine, and an opportunity to connect with nature.
Okay. Murphy's quirky behavior on the trail.
He would always like to lead everyone.
Lead.
Yeah, he'll be like, okay, I am the one
God.
who's going to lead everyone. I should be the one who should be looking at the views first. So even if there's a guide walking in front of us, he'll be like, no, I'm going to cross this guy. I'm going to see everything first.
Murphy's favorite trail snacks.
He does not have a trail snack as such, but chicken jerky is his favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Non-vegetarian. Don't come near Murphy on a hike
If you don't want fur on your clothes, or if you have a ball
On your
with you,
food or
you're
on your-
not
on
you're
your
not getting it back. For
or,
sure.
if you have a ball. A ridiculous myth about traveling with pets.
The most common is it's not fun. It's a lot of fun. You're going to have a ballistic
I can already
experience.
sense
It's
it.
going to be a ball of an experience.
What does he prefer? Morning hikes or evening hikes?
I think evening hikes.
Evening?
Yeah.
Sunset person?
Yeah, sunset person.
Not a morning person. Not a morning being. Okay. Murphy falls sick and you have to go on a trek that you've been dreaming about for years. What would you do? Do you go or do you bail?
That should not even be a question. Of course, bail
course,
out.
bail.
No, you would not leave your family member sick, right? So yeah.
This should be declared as the most pet-friendly city in India.
Bangalore,
Yay!
without a doubt.
Yay. If you aren't traveling with a pet, you're missing out on this.
Creating lifetime memories with your pet, and obviously creating that amazing bond with your pet.
Are you and your pet up for a hike, rain or shine?
Honestly, no, because since he has a lot of fur, he would not prefer hiking when the sun is right on top of your head, because he does not like to step out in the sun. So we would definitely prefer hiking somewhere in the winter
Pleasant.
season or in the monsoon when it's pleasant, when it's not too hot
So
outside.
he's okay getting wet in rain, but not
Yes,
the heat.
Not the heat.
If you could take your pet anywhere in the world for a hike right at this moment, where would it be?
So I thought about this while I was at that particular location. So it's in Switzerland. There's a trek to a lake called Oischeninsee, which is so beautiful. It's breathtaking, and it has this beautiful lake, which is turquoise colored lake. And right when I reached there, I was like, wish Murphy was here with me. That was that one reaction which I had. I didn't think about my husband. I was like, Murphy has to be here.
If your pet could talk, which celebrity or fictional character would they want as their hiking buddy?
I think it has to be Mukesh Ambani.
Mukesh Ambani?
Yeah, because then he would have a butler, a chef, a cook, and someone to play around with him and call him a good boy every now and then. So yeah, I think he'd prefer that.
That would be the best case scenario. Describe the most unusual or unexpected thing you and your pet have encountered on a trail.
Honestly, there have been none. Even though sometimes we do expect that, you know, people will be like, hey, just keep your pet away and all of that things, but
doesn't
none of that
happen.
ever happened. Yeah. So yeah.
If your pet could win an award for their contributions to your outdoor adventures, what would the award be?
The award would be for the calmest travel companion. You know, seriously, I told you, right? He's got compliments for being there and people not knowing there is a dog actually in the resort. He's so calm, he would not bark. People would not even realize there is a dog living along with them in the property.
See, you get the calmest award, but you're not even getting a ball right now.
Too bad.
Just a thing.
Aja.
I only have few more questions. So, apart from hiking and trekking, what's another outdoor activity you and your pet enjoy together?
So Murphy likes to swim a lot, and we love to see him while he's swimming because he's literally like this fish, you know, literally swimming.
Jalpan.
He enjoys it more than anything else, and he loves to play fetch in water. So
Fetch in water.
fetch in water. So you just throw the ball in the water and you just go swim.
You must love the beach then.
Yeah, he does. Anything that has water involved is his favorite.
What sustains your love for mountain? And we want an answer from Mafu as well. Last question. If your pet could talk, which celebrity or fictional character would they want as their hiking buddy?
If I pick a fictional character, it has to be Dora the Explorer, because I think that their personalities
Personalities
are
would
very
match.
similar. And if it has to be a celebrity, I would choose Ranveer Singh because
The energies match.
because their energies match. Yes.
And also, from the shirt, I see that
Yeah,
the fashion
yeah.
statements also would match. So.
Yes.
Okay. So this brings us to the end of the speech segment. I am not going to let you go yet, although I can see that he's fiddling to get the treat from your hand. The last couple of questions. One is very importantly for anybody who is looking to be a pet parent and trying to see if this is something that they want to do. They absolutely have love for pets, but they also have this other side where they travel and there's a lot of things that's involved about a pet. That, of course, there are a lot of myths and a lot of things that we construed. Anything you would want to say to them looking to travel with pets, with every experience for the last couple of years that you've had with Murphy?
Yeah, we get this question a lot from youngsters, from new couples. The one common answer that I tell them is getting a pet home is a very big responsibility. So you have to think about it financially as well. And pets do need attention all the time. So there has to be someone who takes care of them. So if you both are working professionals, then you might want to consider keeping someone home to take care of them sometimes, because not all pets can stay alone for a longer time. So it's a lot of it's like having a baby home. You can't leave the baby alone for a long time, right? There is significant amount of financial investment as well, because it's not very cheap to own a dog or raise a dog, I would say. The vets are very expensive, so you have to think of your financial condition as well. It's not as shiny as it looks on social media, social media would not show you the true picture of how things are. So there are days which are going to be difficult. So if you are committed to them for good 13 to 15 years, that's the only time when I would say, hey, get a pet home. Now coming to the second part of your question, would getting a pet home impact your travel in any way? To answer that is, I would say yes and no. So when you get a pet home, you obviously don't want to leave it alone, because over the time you develop that bond with them that you cannot see their sad face when you're leaving. So this happens with us whenever we try to pack our bags. He has this thought which goes on. He'll just go and sit at the door. He'll sit at the door literally, so that if anyone is even trying to go out, he knows that this person is moving out. But they go through this emotion. Are they going to take me along, or are they going to leave me here alone? So right when we put that leash and harness on him, he's the happiest, because he knows now I am going,
part of it.
Yes. So that is the kind of happiness you would want to see on your pet's face, right? But it's also difficult when there's not every place where you can take your pet. There are going to be situations when you as a couple, you want to wander out or go for a movie or for shopping. That's when you have to leave them alone. So that is where the training part comes into picture as well, where you train them for separation anxiety. But again, that is an investment you make. You have to invest your time, learn it on your own, invest it on your dog, or you have to invest your money in a trainer, and then obviously you have to implement the training etiquettes that they've told you about. So it's an investment of time as well as money to have a pet home. Obviously it's nothing as compared to the joy that they bring into our lives, but it is very important, because you can take them for your travel anywhere within India, but when it comes to traveling abroad, you can't take them on flights. It's kind of difficult. I mean, you have to put them in a cargo and all. It's chaotic actually. So that's some place which is going to be impacted. You can't take them for your international trips, but that's okay. I think you deserve some time off your kids as well, because you would want to enjoy that time as a couple. So you should not feel guilty about that as well. There are many boarding places available in cities. You can leave your dogs there and you can continue with your travel. But I would recommend take them wherever you can, because they are only with us for few years, right? And you don't want them to be enclosed within those four boundaries of your house, right? So yeah, I would say take them wherever you can. If you have a car, good enough. I mean, for people who don't have their own vehicle and have pets, it's difficult in India to travel anywhere, because you need to have your own vehicle. I've seen scenarios in Bangalore itself, which is the most pet-friendly city I voted for, that they say, hey, no pets allowed. They don't really allow pets in auto rickshaws or cabs, though there are companies which come up with pet cab services as well. But that's in Bangalore now. But in all the other cities, we are not yet there. We're not yet there. Okay, yeah. Done? So yeah, it's difficult for people who don't have their own vehicle. So, but whosoever can afford it, I would definitely say take your pets along. If not, if not, just take them out for short day trips, if you cannot take them out to Manali or Goa or anywhere, which a lot of pet parents are doing right now. I think I didn't see it back then, like 2 years before, that people are traveling with their pets. But now,
it's a lot more.
Yeah, people started traveling with their pets. And anyone who asks me if you can travel with your pet or not, I would say definitely. And we have started exploring places in and around the area where we stay, rather than just taking a flight or going somewhere. And it connects us more to the nature and surroundings. So it's different from what it is for not being a pet parent. But it's a complete experience. It's a different experience altogether. But yeah, if you cannot take your pet anywhere, you always have the option of dropping them at a boarding facility.
Okay. So basically, look out for your options. Know your own condition, your own environment, and if you can provide that kind of a family and home. Dog is not really a watchman or a watch person or a watch being anymore. So that's something that you should look at.
Definitely.
And what is your intent of bringing a dog home? Intent is to travel with the dog. Intent is to provide a family. Certain questions that self-assessment will help in making that decision.
Yeah, and that's completely on you, because you have to assess how much of it can you afford. Can you afford traveling with your pet? Can you afford leaving them at home? Do you have someone at home to take care of them? Are you just getting a pet home because you want someone to be there? That's not the case. I mean, that should not be the case. Yeah. So they also deserve to explore. So I would say, you don't have to worry about traveling when it comes to pets. The only places where you have to worry is the international destinations, but that's okay. You can leave your pet at boarding facilities and for that duration. I think that's all.
So overall, what sustains your love for mountains, love for travel? Now that your love for mountains have gone from 2 people to 3, and it has shifted in a whole different perspective. So what sustains it? How are you going to continue to sustain it?
I think when it comes to the mountains, it's the fact that no matter how hard it seems at the start, it always seems difficult at the start. But when you reach there, when you reach the top, the view from there is beautiful. So no matter how difficult the start is, the end is going to be beautiful. And same is with pet parenting or traveling with pets. At the start, you're going to face a few difficulties, but with time, they get better, and you will create those memories with your pet, which you are going to cherish forever. And being a pet parent, I know that there are so many memories that I have collected by traveling with him to different places. I know that years later, when he's probably not around, I'll be cherishing them. So I would say definitely live this moment with your pet and enjoy every moment that you have. Yeah, that's all.
Nice. Thank you for sharing everything that you do with Murphy, and he was also walking in and out of the frame. And thank you, Murphy. Murphy.
Say thank you.
Murphy, thank you. Here, okay,
Yep.
now. Okay, thank you for coming to the show. And I know you're not listening to me. I know. Do I give it in? Okay, bye. He's not taking. Okay, bye. Thank you for coming.
Okay, bye. Thank you so much,
for
Mana.
taking time out, coming with him, and also putting a smile on all our faces. And I hope the podcast listeners also have definitely learned the do's and don'ts, and you know what to expect, and you do your own research after this and probably take the right call. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
For the rest of you, we have 7 episodes out as of now. Watch them, share your thoughts, share your feedback, drop your comments, and until next time. So see you. Bye. What sustains your love for travel? इतना ट्वीट मिला है अभी तो मतलब